Hello, this is Myra Elaine on the Buying Space Channel. Happy Sukkot. We're still in the festival of Sukkot. It lasts 8 days. It is a Jewish festival. It's also called the Festival of Tabernacles, which is what Sukkot means, or the Festival of Tents, or the Festival of Booths. Jewish people all over the world have built their Sukkot this week and are living in them. And every day they shake the elements of worship. And the elements of worship are the citrine, which is like a lemon, a willow branch, myrtle leaves and branches, and a palm branch. And living in Florida, I look at palm trees all the time. And I can tell you that palm branches start out as a single shoot, and then they, after years and years, a very long time, they shoot up from the same shoot, and the whole big bundle at the top of the tree is from this one leaf or branch. And it's very interesting about the strength that comes when they stay together. We have hurricanes here, and it takes a lot of wind for even one of those branches to be lost. I was looking at one the other day, and there was one branch out of the whole bunch that had fallen down, and I don't see that a lot. They're very strong together, just like people. So I wanted to read in chapter 32 of Deuteronomy, and the reason being, this is the song of Moses. And one of the reasons, or the reason, that Jewish people live in these tents or booths or tabernacles during this week is to remember and be grateful for being in the promised land, but to remember the struggles that the Jewish people, the Israelis, went through leaving Egypt, leaving the slavery of Egypt, and going into the wilderness for 40 years. So it's a memorial and a thanksgiving of God's provision, because God provided the manna and the quail and the water and everything they needed as they traveled across the wilderness to the promised land. And this is written after they've crossed the wilderness, but right before they go into the promised land, because Moses didn't go into the promised land. Now that's a whole nother Bible study to talk about why Moses himself did not go into the promised land. The only thing I'll add about that is Moses, where he is buried, is not known. I mean, there are people that claim they found his grave recently. I don't know whether that's true or not, but God didn't want people to worship Moses like he was the Messiah, even though he did bring the people out of Egypt. He did save them from further slavery from Egypt. And if you read about the 10 plagues, it took quite a bit of effort to get the Egyptians to release them. They were a mighty nation. Matter of fact, the Egyptians were so afraid of them, they were killing the firstborn. So it took a tremendous amount of convincing for the Egyptians to let them go. And then they didn't let them go. And then their army died in the Red Sea, and on and on. So it took miracles, the parting of the Red Sea, the plagues, the first Passover, all of that for the journey to even begin. But I digress. Let me get into the Song of Moses. Now, this is Deuteronomy chapter 23, starting in verse 1. Give ear, O ye heavens, that I will speak. Let the earth hear the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop as the rain, my speech shall distill as the dew. as heavy rains upon the grass, and as showers upon the herbs. For I proclaim the name of the Lord. Ascribe ye greatness unto our God. The rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are just. God of truth and without iniquity, just and upright is he. Is the corruption his? No. His children is a blemish, a generation crooked and perverse. So this is talking about when there was disobedience in the Israelis, what happens. Now, this is the end of the page. In most books, you turn this way. This is a Torah. This part is Hebrew. This part is a translation into English directly from the Hebrew. And you read English from left to right. You read Hebrew from right to left. So the book goes backwards. So I turn this way to go to the next verse. Isn't that interesting? Continuing in verse 6. Do ye thus require the Lord, O people, worthless and unwise? Is not he thy father who hath gotten thee? Hath he made thee and established thee? Why, yes, he has. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of former generations. Ask thy father, and he will tell thee, thy elders, and they will say unto thee, when the Most High divided the nations their inheritance, then he separated sons of man. He set bounds of the tribes according to the number of the sons of Israel, or Jacob, for the portion of the Lord and his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. He found him in a desert land and in the waste, a howling wilderness. He compassed him about and instructed him. He guarded him as an apple of his eye. And the eagle stirreth up the nest, flurreth over his young, spreading abroad his wings, seizeth them, bearing them aloft on his pinions. The Lord alone did lead him, and there was no strange God with him. He made him ride on a high place of the earth, and he ate the products of the fields, and made him suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty stone. Cream of kine, and milk of sheep, with fat of lambs, and rams of the breed of Bashan, and he goats, and the fat of the kidneys of wheat, and the blonde of the grapes. There drankest unmixed wine. But Yeshurun grow fat and kicked. Thou art grown fat, thick, fleshly, and he forsook the God who made him, and condemned the rock of his salvation. They roused him to jealousy with strange gods, with abominations they provoke him. They sacrificed unto demons, no gods, gods that they knew not, new ones that came up of late from your fathers dreaded not, whom your fathers dreaded not. Of the rock that begat thee, thou wast unmindful, and didst forget the God that bore thee. And the Lord saw, and he was angry because of the provoking of his sons and daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end will be. For they are perverse generation, are they children, and there are no faithfulness. And they have roused me to jealousy with no God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will rouse them to jealousy with no people. I will provoke them to anger with a worthless nation. For a fire is kindled in my nostril, and it burneth unto the lowest deep, and it consumed the earth with her products, and it settleth on fire the foundations of the mountain. I will heap upon them miseries. All my arrows I will spin upon them. The wasting of hunger, the devouring of burning heat, the bitter destruction, and the tooth of the beast will I get loosed against them, with the poison of the crawling things of the dust. Without shall the sword bereave, and terror within the chambers, both the young man and the virgin, the suckling with the man of gray hairs. I said I would dive them into one corner. I will cause their remembrance to cease from among men, were it not that I feared the enemy's provocation, lest their oppressors should mistake the truth, lest they should say, our hand is high, and the Lord hath not wrought all this. For a nation void of counsel are they, and there is no understanding in them. Well, Moses was on a rant. If there were wise, they would understand this. They would consider their latter end. How should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to fight, unless their rock was solid among them, and the Lord had delivered them up? For their rock is not our rock. Our enemies themselves being judges. For from the vine of Sodom is their vine, and from the fields of Gomorrah their grapes are grapes of gall. They bear bitter clusters. The poison of serpents is their wine, and the deadly venom of asp. Behold, this is laid up in store with me, and is sealed up among my treasures. Mine are vengeance and recompenses at the time when their foot shall slip. For nigh draweth the day of their calamity, and the future of them makes haste. For the Lord will judge his people. He bethink himself concerning his servants, and he seeth that their power is gone, and there is none remaining shut up or left at large. Then he shall say, where are their gods, the rock in whom they trusted? They that ate the fat of their sacrifices and drank the wine of their drink offerings. Let them arise and help you. Let them be protection over you. So this is Moses. God saying through Moses, okay, you want to go worship another God? Wait and see what happens when calamity comes to you. Where is that God? Where are those people that convinced you to follow, to worship something else besides me? See now that I have, even I and he, and there is no God with me. I alone kill, and I make alive. I wound, and I heal, and there is none that can deliver out of my hand. For I lift up my hand to heaven and say, as I live forever, when I want my glittering sword, and my hand taketh hold on judgment, I will render vengeance upon my enemies, and will recite those that hate me. So Moses had to fight his way across the wilderness. There were enemies that came against them while they're trying to reach the promised land. This was not an easy path. And this is Moses unleashing the justice of God. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, from the blood of the slain and of the captives, from the disheveled head of the enemy. Sing aloud, O ye nations of the people, for he will avenge the blood of his servants, and vengeance will be rendered unto his adversaries, and forgive his land and his people. Forgive his land and his people. And Moses came and spoke all the words of this song unto the ears of the people, he and Hosea the son of Nun. And when Moses had made an end of speaking all these words to all Israel, he said unto them, set your hearts unto the words wherewith I testify against this day, so that ye may command them your children to observe to all the words of this law. For it is not vain words for you, and on the contrary, it is your life. And through this word shall ye live many days in the land, whether ye go over the Jordan to possess it. And the Lord spake unto Moses on the self same day, saying, get thee up unto the mountain of Abram, unto the Mount Nebo, which is the land of Moash, and front of Jericho. And behold, the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel for a possession. And die on the mount whither thou goest up, and be gathered unto thy people, as Aaron thy brother died on Mount Hor, and was gathered unto his people, because ye committed an offense against me in the midst of the children of Israel, at the waters of Meribah Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin, because you sacrificed me not in the midst of the children of Israel. For thou shalt see the land from afar, but thither shalt thou not go unto the land which I give to the children of Israel. So this is the promise and the blessing to the nation at the same time as Moses is dying and realizing why he can't go to the promised land. And I know it seems harsh, because just think about life. We live maybe as really good people all our life, but we had that one thing happen. We did that one thing that was atrocious. And we ask for forgiveness for that. But that doesn't mean we're not going to have consequences. And here's Moses, who helped his people escape from slavery and led them and fought with them against their enemies for 40 years across the wilderness. And he gets to see the promised land from the distance. Reminds me of David. David wanted to rebuild the temple, but he couldn't because of his sins. So his son Solomon took all that David had prepared and built the temple. And here, Joshua is going to lead people, the Israeli nation, into the promised land. And that generation received the promise and the blessing. But it was provided for by the prior generation. The prior generation who struggled and fought and traveled and lived in booths or tents or tabernacles or whatever you want to call those little temporary shelters they had as nomads as they went from Egypt to Canaan. And that's what the Jews celebrate this week. And as I read in Zechariah in another Sukkot reading last weekend, or the beginning of the week, I should say, it says that in the end, in the future, we are all going to be celebrating Sukkot, or the Feast of Tabernacles. And I'm embracing it as a Christian to celebrate. Now, I'm not going to go out and make a tent, but I am going to read the scriptures and remember and have a time of remembrance, getting back to the elements that they shook. In Leviticus, I'm reading Leviticus on Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right now. I've covered the different types of offerings. And those elements are like a wave offering. They're lifted up, or they originally were lifted up to God to show that I am offering this to you, God. And it's the willow branch, it's myrtle leaves and branch, it's the fruit, and it's the pine. And those are held together, and they shake them. And they do this every day and say a blessing. And it says to do that in Leviticus chapter 23, verse 40. And it gives the elements that are to be used. And it's quite a beautiful gesture of offering to God. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Enjoy Sukkot. Remember the 40 years in the wilderness. Remember, God is providing for us. He provided for the Israelis as they went across the wilderness, fought against enemies, lived in booths, and received blessings, received what they needed, what they really needed in that journey. So today is the Sabbath. Jews celebrate their Sabbath on Saturday, and it is the Sabbath in Sukkot, which is one of the high holy days. So we should remember, if you're out there listening and you're Christians, we should remember all of these festivals and celebrations. They were a part of the life of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ took those elements and shook them or rose them up, whatever was the custom at the time in Herod's temple. He participated in that. And it's also believed by many that this was also the birthday of Jesus Christ. Now, that's not provable, but there is justification. There is a timeline that shows that. I'm not going to go into that. This is a Torah reading on Sukkot. So maybe I'll go into that Sunday during my Bible study. And maybe not. I've got a timeline that I'm going through on my other studies. So we'll see. You all have a wonderful and blessed day.